Staying on the phones. This is Cranberry, New Jersey. Perry. Welcome, sir. Glad you waited. Welcome to EIB Network. Hi.
How you doing, Rush? It's like 24 degrees out here. I'm walking my my Cocker Spaniel, little Lulu.
24 degrees. What's a wind chill?
It's even colder than that.
Yeah.
I'm not even taking that in. It's like the actual temperature is, I'm looking at now, 25.
I was up there. We were up in New Jersey on Saturday, and the wind chill was like 10.
Yeah, man. It's cold.
So I put on my suit jacket instead of just wearing the shirt sleeves. Yeah, it was cold.
So look, this is what I wanted to say to you.
Yeah.
About an hour ago, before I took little Lulu out, I was watching the TV, and it said that Standard & Poor's is going to have to pay a $1.4 billion fine for its role into the 2008 crash. And what that is that, you know, I hear you say all the time that liberals want free stuff. Well, I'm a liberal, and I don't want free stuff. Even though I didn't make a lot of money in my life, I'm 60 years old, I was investing, and I had a broker. And the broker told me that these mortgage-backed securities were AAA rated by Standard & Poor's, and I should go ahead and buy them.
What a crock that was.
Excuse me?
What a crock that was. AAA rated? Subprime mortgages were
Standard & Poor's. And so it turned out that when it crashed, not only did I lose my money, but my tax money had to go bail out Wall Street.
Yes, exactly.
And so as a liberal, I don't want free stuff, but I want to make sure that somebody regulates and keeps an eye on what these people do, because so far we found out, Rush, that the honor system just doesn't work. And that's what regulations are for.
Okay, so what is your real point here? Are you calling as a liberal to say we need regulation? Are you translating that to the vaccines, or are you just talking about something entirely different than vaccines?
Oh no, I'm not talking about vaccines at all. I'm talking about what the news that just came on the news an hour ago.
Okay,
that now we're starting to find out that the reason why the whole economy crashed was because the Bush administration was looking the other way while Wall Street did what it did.
See, that's not why the economy crashed.
It's not.
No, it's not why the economy crashed.
I lost half of my net value that year. Thankfully, it came back. Big time. I tripled my net value.
That must have happened in the Obama administration then.
That I tripled it? Absolutely.
Yeah. I figured that's it had to be.
But the honor system doesn't work. Rush, the first thing that the Republicans did when they just got in this new Congress was repeal Dodd-Frank, because Dodd-Frank was put in there to make sure that companies like Standard & Poor's couldn't lie.
It hasn't been repealed.
They didn't repeal it, but they took away a lot of the regulations.
No, they haven't. They've wanted to. They announced and they made a proposal, but it didn't go anywhere because the Democrats opposed it. Obama's not going to sign it. Dodd-Frank is still alive and ready and is able to punish financial. You've got this
system don't work. We don't want free stuff. We just don't want to get swindled.
Okay, now I understand what this is. This is out of left field. I'm struggling here to relate. This is an Open Line Friday call, and I don't know it. I'm the last to figure it out. Okay, this guy's calling in relationship to nothing that we've talked about today. He's just a liberal, and he's offended that I say liberals want freebies. And he's calling to say he's a liberal, and he doesn't want freebies. He just wants what's due him because the economy crashed when the Republicans were in the White House, and because the honor system doesn't work. I get worn out. I just get worn out, especially when now the subject is a subprime mortgage. The one place where somebody tried to stop that from happening was the Bush administration. The effort might have been half-assed, but they at least tried. I can get audio sound bites for you of Barney Frank telling regulators to go pound sand as they were trying to rein in what was happening. Honor system, my foot. There wasn't any honor system, and nobody ever claims the honor system. You get this idea that we here are totally opposed to regulation, that we are for unfettered, unchallenged, unregulated capitalism, and nobody's ever made any such assertion. Your call is just coming out of the clear blue here. It's like It's your turn to call talk radio, and at Media Matters, you gave you this topic. So here you're reading from the script. Oh, man. The subprime mortgage crisis was birthed by Bill Clinton. It was fueled by Jimmy Carter. Birthed by Jimmy Carter, fueled by Bill Clinton, and it was sent to the moon on a rocket ship by the Democrat Party. And it was based on the premise that it's unfair that people that can't afford houses don't have them. And the government made lenders. I can't believe I'm going through this again. The federal government, starting with Carter into Clinton, demanded that banks, Janet Reno threatened the banks if they didn't do this, demanded that the banks lend money to people that could never have a prayer of paying it back. And if they didn't do that, they were going to be investigated by Janet Reno and the Justice Department, and all hell was going to be breaking out against them. Okay, so these banks and institutions are told they've got to make these loans, which nobody in their right mind would make. So what did they do? They figured out a way, because not anything is static, you see. Clinton and the boys thought the banks would sit there and suck wind for a couple of years in order to make Clinton look good and compassionate so he could say, look what I've done for home ownership. But the banks said, you know what, we're not going to lose money here. We're not going to loan money to people that can't pay it back and sit here and go out of business. So what they did was package these worthless loans into what became mortgage-backed securities. And you know what they were worth? Nothing. They started out being worthless, and they stayed worthless, but they were packaged. What they did was pool all these mortgages, and then they sold them. And they sold them on the basis that all these mortgages combined were going to produce this millions of dollars worth of income every month. And so those worthless mortgage-backed securities were purchased under the belief that there was massive amounts of monthly incomes via the monthly payment that all these mortgages were going to create. And as each buyer of the worthless mortgage-backed securities learned that they had bought nothing, they continued to repackage them into something that some other sucker would buy until there weren't any suckers left. And that's when we got the financial crisis. And that's when they all had to be bailed out. And that's when the Bush administration and everybody fell prey to the crisis presented to us by Henry Paulson and everybody else. And if we didn't bail out these banks, which the government had demanded make these worthless loans in the first place and backed by the Democrat Party, but it was their idea, Bill Clinton and his alone, with Barney Frank and Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae were all involved in this. It was all designed to make poor people experience the American dream of homeownership because it wasn't fair. Don't forget that people who couldn't afford a house didn't have one. Well, it was not just poor minority people. It was a large block of it. But it was minority based. But it wasn't just poor minority people that didn't have houses. There's a bunch of poor white people that didn't either, and they were part of the. It was all a ruse. It was all a ruse to show how compassionate the Democrat Party. Anyway, by the time all this worthless paper had made the rounds and had been sold and sold and sold, all over the world, the smartest bankers in the world who bought worthless paper time and time again, then claimed they needed to be bailed out because if they weren't, the world economy was going to collapse. And so Henry Paulson got his guys together and he said, do you like your second and third homes in the Hamptons? And they said, yep. You guys in California, you like your second and third homes in Lake Tahoe and Palm Springs? They said, yep. Do you like your private jets where you're flying your dog and kids around? Yep. Well, then you're going to sign this piece of paper demanding that you want $35 billion minimum from the government. The Wells Fargo guys, I didn't do this. I didn't join this parade. I don't want to bail out. Paulson said, you're not getting out of this room till you sign it. So they all signed it. All the banks did, making it look like every bank needed to be bailed out. That gave us TARP and a number of other things, all to save the global economy. Now, what's the caller's name? Perry. Perry, I know you're still out there. If you want to know why all of this happened, and by the way, you found yourself because your dollars were used to fund mortgages for people that had no money to pay them, had no money, no business being given them. If you want to know why all that happened, the Democrat Party behaving under the auspices of liberalism, led by Jimmy Carter, the first fool to get involved. Bill Clinton saw a great idea and tried to expand on it, got Janet Reno threatening the banks. And it was people in the regulatory agencies that you seem to love here during the Bush administration that were trying to get accountability into this and to shut it down. And it was Democrats led by Barney Frank of liberalism, which was doing everything they could to intimidate these regulators to shut up and go the hell away. This one's owned from beginning to end by the Democrat Party. Now, there may have been some Republicans involved in this bailout, and Paulson, who I don't know what he was part of the Bush administration engineering all this. But this was a bailout. And what do you think quantitative easing is, buddy? That is more of your liberal Democrat banking buddies being given money printed by the Federal Reserve so that they can enjoy profits through the roof in the stock market. Everything you're supposed to hate is propping up Wall Street at the expense of Main Street. You ought to be out there decrying every day that Wall Street has a big gain. Because the reason it's happening is that the insiders are taking care of themselves. The Fed's printing money, buying stock with it. You want to know why there's a big gap? Wealth distribution gap? Why the rich keep getting richer? What do you think is going to happen if the Fed is going to print $3.5 trillion and essentially give it to the stock market? You think people in the stock market, Perry, are going to do okay? Now, who's in the stock market? Who do these people at Wall Street vote for, Perry? Same guy you voted for. You realize under Barack Hussein, this income distribution gap, the income gap, the whatever, however it's portrayed, the wealth gap, income gap, inequality, it has skyrocketed under Barack Obama. It's just mathematics. You print $3.5 trillion, and that's not an error, called quantitative easing. It's to make sure the stock market didn't plummet with the rest of the economy. Because the masters of the universe are going to take care of themselves and not become paupers. If they control the money, if they control the printing presses, why in the world should they ever go broke? That's the way they look at it. That's the value of going to Harvard, Princeton, Yale, whatever. Anyway, got to take a break. How did that call happen? I'm still...